Welcome to MalcolmPresents.com with our show, Syd and Malcolm. And Syd's been away we're in Oregon for the last 3 weeks.
Oregon and San Francisco Bay Area.
You want to put a word in about that, or?
Oh, sure. Because we did talk, we did some business out there, and it's always good to talk about. In Oregon, we visited one of my children, my daughter Emily, who lives in Milwaukee, which is outside of Portland.
Mhm.
And they have a horrific problem with the homeless. And one of the issues is they allow encampments on the side of the road, even though there are no facilities for these people. So they relieve themselves on the side of the road. And
You got to relieve yourself someplace.
you should, but put up a porta potty, do something, with your tax dollars to increase the quality of life for the rest of the people that are living in Oregon. And this stuff has not been thought out. We saw the same thing in San Francisco, people urinating on the street. And it really is a problem with regard to those that choose a life of poverty when it disrupts the life of everyone else. And we're an anti-poverty organization. We're an anti-poverty think tank. And there have to be better ways of dealing with a population that may have issues with regard to mental stability and instability. And there are very few people, other than here in New York City, that are willing to risk dealing with this population because they don't have answers as to why they have chosen a life of being hobos outdoors, just like people did 100 years ago.
Yeah, well, the difference between, from what I understand, a hobo was someone that was like, packed up and roll and ride the rails and did, some work for some money to eat, versus a bum who was just a derelict. The hobo was almost like a professional wanderer.
Yeah, it's very little difference between the two. Unfortunately, many of the hobos slash, people of the field would steal crops and would go into stores and shoplift, and they would break into places that weren't locked. And there were songs written about that. If you remember Roger Miller's King of the Road, one of the lines was, "Every lock that ain't locked when no one's around." It is the life of someone that's a professional illegal.
Yeah.
Not in the sense that they come from another country, but they do illegal things.
Yeah. Well,
and they should be locked up for it, but they're not.
Yeah, well, Woody Guthrie has a whole group of songs talking about more or less people wandering who were, during the Depression, during the Dust Bowl, and
There were reasons for that.
he romanticized that. Woody Guthrie romanticized it.
He did, but he also took the philosophy of the Jewish Bible, which in Leviticus basically says that you are prompted to leave 10% of your field not harvested for the poor. So for thousands of years, those of us that believe in the Old Testament have been directed to leave a portion of your crops for those that are destitute.
Now, if there was a new Bible, it would leave 10% of the crops for the destitute, but also put public restrooms there in the
from
field.
your mouth to God's ears. But in those years, there were quite a few of things that we really haven't done. I pray every week, and I have certain prayers that I say that include that you should not treat the poor or the rich any differently. And that's part of our scriptures also. And as Rock and Wrap It Up tries so hard, it's somewhat like Sisyphus pushing the boulder. it's not going too high up because it's going to roll back. But the reality is that we have to do it. It's part of our humanity and what separates us from a lot of other groups. Though I will tell you a very interesting parable. There are a group of dolphins that are in Florida that have become friends with boa constrictors, and Florida sadly has a huge problem with boa constrictors. They have infiltrated the Okefenokee swamp and some of the hundreds of miles. And it's a problem because they do eat things like fish and small reptiles and animals.
Yeah, if I recall, the snakes are not indigenous to that area. They were
Not
brought
at
into
all.
it, and
Right.
they have no natural predators.
Absolutely not. But I read about some dolphins that have become friendly with them and put them in their mouths and give them rides in ponds.
Wow.
Yeah. So it just shows that both of them are living together. They're not going to eat a dolphin, but they've learned to live together, and they have a commensalism. They enjoy each other's company and make the best out of it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, it is. Well, the thing that I forgot I forget whether it's the shark or the whale, that there's a group of small little fish that swim in their mouth and they
To
eat
get the parcels and morsels.
between the teeth.
And actually, there's another fish called a remora, which connects itself to the back of whales and killer whales, and also gets the food. They hitchhike on the backs of these animals, and the animals don't care.
But they service them, they clean them.
Yeah. So, it is what it is, but that does not apply to the homeless that I saw.
Well, that's
And you know what? And it was very interesting because I spoke to a policeman at one of the Little League games that I went to see one of my grandsons. And he said it's very interesting. He's in the town of Petaluma now for about 5 years. And he's noticed that in the winter, when the weather is bad, the homeless go to the Petaluma homeless shelters and stay there when the weather is bad. And the weather is better, they go back to their tents on the side of the river. And there's no one really to enforce the laws, because there's no law in the books that is enforceable when it comes to the homeless. You can't throw them into a jail without giving them services.
right.
If you don't have the money for the services, or if the person doesn't want services, then you're incarcerating them for breaking a law of vagrancy, which you really are not enforcing it with a lot of other people. And
Well, I think for a while, I don't know, it was Santa Monica or Malibu, they were giving them one-way bus tickets to I think to Las Vegas or to New York, wherever there
I
was a
heard
liberal.
they were giving from Portland one-way tickets to San Francisco
Okay.
because they get $300 a month and a cell phone. Every homeless.
So why aren't the homeless in San Francisco? Well,
Oh my God. San Francisco is quite like New York in that it is the capital of let's not work today. And there's nothing to say. So I have an interesting thing that just happened yesterday, and got a phone call from a producer of a television show that researched us, and she was very impressed with our veteran farmers market and the work that we're doing, and said, for the last 10 years, my company, which is called Great Performances, does a broadcast of the Shakespearean plays that are put on in Central Park every year.
yeah, that's PBS, isn't it?
Well, it's part of it, but Great Performances is an underlying company that actually does the production of it. And she said for the last 10 years, it has bothered her that all of the food from the crews and the shoots have gone to waste. And she researched, found us, and said, can you help us? And I said, well, just give me a ballpark as the quantities. And she said, well, it's between 50 and maybe 75 sandwiches a day, which is not a lot, but it's worth dealing with.
Yeah.
But I said to her, in this new age of transportation, it's not worth for us to pay the tolls, pay the gas to send in a church to pick that up. I could find you, I said to her, an agency that you could spend $12 and Uber the sandwiches to that church. And she said, would you be interested in doing that? She said, absolutely. So, for a modest cost, we're able to answer her, and they're going to be taping from July 10th to July 20th, probably 5 or 6 different performances, and then they'll put them together as a montage and show it on PBS.
Is that at the Delacorte Theater?
Yes.
That's beautiful. I lived, half a mile away. We used to go there all the time.
It's a performance of Richard III, which is one of the bigger tragedies of Shakespeare. So we are going to, help her out. And I said to her, it would be nice on a couple of things. I said, first, we do sustainability. I said, so I would like you to give to us. We normally charge $20 a pickup. I would like you to pay that anyway. And what I will do for you, it's $200 that you'd make a donation to our charity. We would keep track of the pounds of food that she donates and give her sustainability numbers, how much greenhouse gas was diverted, how many gallons of water were not used, how many meals did it equal. And I said, and if great performances could put that on their website with our name, Rock and Wrap It Up on it, then other producers like yourself would be able to see it. And they agreed to do that. So that was a nice coup for us.
I don't know, could you put on that you also have a show on Malcolm Presents, which might...
You know what? Once they look us up, sure.
Yeah, because what we need is the visibility.
Yeah. So that was one thing that happened this week. And the other thing, very interesting, we had written a paper, I think I may have discussed it, on reducing poverty by reducing the amount of single parent households. Did I ever discuss that with you?
Yeah, you spoke about that.
So I got a lot of emails today from people that read, my liberal friends and my conservative friends wrote to say that they read a hatchet piece, my conservative friends called it, that somebody leaked a supposed draft of a discussion that was held at the Supreme Court about people trying to reverse Roe versus Wade. And this came from a unverified source, but it was picked up by Politico, which is a left-wing news source. And of all places that picked it up were AP and the Washington Post. And they wrote a piece on this, even though there was no verification of this. And Newsday was the only piece that I saw, because I read the Times, and it was a lead article in the New York Times. I read Washington Post, but Newsday was the only one to reference Politico, saying that it was from a stolen draft of a discussion held at the Supreme Court. And everyone else wrote it like it's already in the works of the Supreme Court. And that's not how the Supreme Court works. Supreme Court only works with cases that they're discussing at a time. So they would never discuss Roe versus Wade. They would discuss the state of Tennessee, versus so-and-so on some abortion center, and because people are looking for a way right now to rally America. And I look at this as, sadly, coming from a left-wing think tank. Take your eye off of the economy, take your eye off of the war in the Ukraine, take your eye off the feebleness of our president, but now focus on Roe versus Wade. Let's get people to vote Roe versus Wade in the midterm election. And this is what people are doing because of undocumented sources that come from Politico and left-wing rags.
Well,
It's
from
sad.
what I gather, this was actually a draft by Alito.
No, it wasn't a draft.
Then
Yes,
the news
I read what Politico wrote. It wasn't a draft. It was notes taken from a discussion in a private chamber. It was not in front of the 9 justices. It was not even to a point that they would have made a copy of this to send to the other 9 judges.
well,
That's
that,
what Politico, I know that. That's
well,
what Politico wrote. That's not what AP wrote. And
well,
that's not what the Washington Post wrote.
well, then there has to be a major attraction by all the
They'll
news
absolutely get
sources.
to it, but not before. I am on the list of Planned Parenthood, who I support to a point. I am very much against late-term abortions. If the mother has not been raped, if the mother health is not a problem, and she has an abortion in her 7th, 8th, and 9th month, that's murder. And that's a problem for me because it negates all the other things that I support, which is the right of a woman to choose. But if what she is aborting could live on its own and it's allowed to die, that's murder to me.
But if it endangered her life.
But I'm not saying that's exactly right. If it endangers her life, if she's been raped, take that out of the picture. Late-term abortions happen every day for women that make a decision in their 8th and 9th month not to have the kid. And instead of reaching out to an orphanage, reaching out to Catholic services, Jewish services, which is what they should be doing, but they don't. And that's a problem for me.
Well, I have a question, and I'm not sure what the answer is. Now, the church is against any abortion. Now, if the woman wants the abortion and she can't get it, does the church pay for all the medical expenses that she has incurred during that period of pregnancy? And then
if she goes to a foundling center, part of, and they are out there, yes, they will. And then she gives birth and the child is taken.
And then is the child supported with, well, I guess if they go to an orphanage, but what happens to the child afterwards? Are they found a home?
Put up for adoption.
Yeah, but are they found a home? Because you see a lot. I don't know now. I remember reading, I mean, this was years ago, that white babies generally are adopted, but black and brown babies, very few are adopted. We're not a large percentage.
I don't know. I can't answer you on that. What I do know is that the largest percentage of single parent households for women under 30 are African American, 72%. Yeah. The second one is Latinos, 56%, and all others, including white Caucasians, is 40%. So you still have 40% of all births to Caucasian children in single parent household situations, which is terrible.
I think I told you in one of the shows when I took Marriage in the Family in college.
Yeah.
And I think it was the Tahitians or one of the islands where they considered a woman being pregnant was a gift of God.
Right.
And she didn't have to marry the person because, again, it was whoever impregnated her. But the responsibility of supporting that child went to her brother.
Right.
So it was a continued family.
Right.
So you didn't have any single mothers, well, unless they had no male, brothers, but generally they were larger families. So, and that child was a gift.
Well, it's very interesting because in the Old Testament, if a woman is married and the husband dies, the wife becomes the liability of his brother.
Right. Yeah.
And that's been in our way of doing business for thousands of years for the same reason, because it's blood, it's family to family.
Right.
The difference was that until about 400 AD, most Jewish men had 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 wives because the amount of death during childbirth. And you needed other women to help raise the children. If a woman passed and she had 2 or 3 young kids, someone has to raise those kids. And the husband is out in the fields, he's out working. So that's why there was always multiple women in a man's household. And that goes back thousands of years. This has changed, though. In my neighborhood, Malcolm, we had a family here. I'm not going to say their last name. It was a Black father who was an accountant, and he had 4 women living in his household that he had children with. And he wound up with 15 children of ages, the same ages as my kids, because I think I told you we have a big age difference. We have 19 years top to bottom. My youngest son is going to be 29 tomorrow, and my oldest daughter just turned 47.
Mm-hmm.
And this family had kids with each one of my kids going to school with them. And it worked for them. They had a big household with about 10 bedrooms, and the kids were multi-racial because I think 2 of the women were Black and 2 weren't.
Is this a religious thing, like Mormons?
No, it was just something that this guy wanted. And he found women that wanted the same situation. He made a good living. And it got to a point where the other women would go out to work to bring money into the household. So there was always, never a problem with money. All the kids went on to something after high school. They all graduated high school. Many went on to college, many went on to work, but it was a successful endeavor that is not for everyone.
No, I guess if it worked for them.
That's how we looked at it. And my son was friendly with his friends. My daughters were never friendly with his daughters because the house was very strict. Nobody wanted to go to their house. When you have 15 kids, it's like a boot camp.
Yeah, well, I'm forgetting the name of the movie with Henry Fonda and Lucille Ball, where she had 9 kids and he had 10 kids, and they from different marriages, and they got together, and he had his house
yours, mine, and ours.
Right. He ran his house. He was in the Navy. He ran his house as it was boot camp. Yeah, like a ship, and he blow the whistle. They all come down, and
you know what? It was similar to how this guy ran his house. I guess you had to have some semblance of family, but there was no problems. Police were never called to the house. Once in a while, a parent had to go up because a kid did something at school, but so do all kids. But their situation worked, and that's why I never look at anyone else's situation. You're going to teach kids to be kind. You're going to teach kids to be loving, to share. That's what you want your kids to be friendly with. It's something else to say. And I am very liberal when it comes to working situations, and that's why I'm very against single parent households, because it shows how so many of these kids go on to lives of crime, go on to lives of issues, emotional issues, because the mother is too young to raise the kids. And if their grandmother is raising the kids or great grandmother, then the kids are not getting current values. You know, the kids have to be in the lives that they're living in. And I had a very funny thing. I read online. Now I'm over 70, you're over 70. Um, they made fun of parents who were fans of Guns N' Roses, you know, and it was a cartoon that said, your parents went to a Guns N' Roses concert. You know, the kids are now 16, 17. The parents are in their mid-late 40s. You know, Guns N' Roses were big from 85 to like 95. But they made fun of Guns N' Roses as being the alta cacas, you know, that these were the old musicians. Look at your parents, you know, they got stoned at a Guns N' Roses concert. It was just a very funny meme on the internet from a whole new generation. They look at us as we're dead already, Malcolm. You know?
Right, or even going further back, people who went to Woodstock. That was 1969.
I went to Woodstock.
Yeah.
You know, I was 19. It was the perfect age to go.
That was, tune in and drop out. It was sort of
Yeah. You know, look,
turn on and drop out.
I've always talked about, I love pot when I was a kid. I don't smoke it at this point because of my diabetes, but I give it away and I grow it.
Right, you're still growing it.
Still growing it, giving it away. I think it's a great drug, better than alcohol.
Well, I have one of my shows with Maxine. It's called Tush Girls, Tush Twins. Maxine and Paula lives in New Jersey, and she's trying to get her license to sell pot.
The problem is in Jersey, it's a double-edged sword. Listen to this. They want to give preference to those minorities that serve time in jail for pot because they felt that they were discriminated against because white kids and other kids did not serve time for the same offense.
Right, with that.
So they want to give first crack to these people that had served time, but they didn't do their homework. These people are not business people. So somebody's going to front for them, you know, they'll put their name in, but someone else is going to run the business.
Yeah, well, like organized crime.
That's what's going on here in Jersey, because people like your friend are not going to be on top of the list of selling this stuff. You know, and look, I'm against selling it. God gave it to us, give it away. Grow it and give it away.
Now, but that you can talk about farm products, crops, vegetables.
No,
God gave it to us.
everybody could grow it. If they have a little flower pot, you could grow a pot. You don't need a big, you know, I just literally, it's funny, we're talking about it. I just turned over 12 feet by 2 feet of sod, which I'm going to use for my pot this year. I'm going to put out 20 plants, of which probably half will be female. I'll sacrifice the other 10, and I'll have 10 pot plants next year to give away.
Can I raise my hand? Could you send me one?
Sure.
But can you cross the border to?
Oh, no. I could do it philosophically. So
Oh,
philosophically, I am giving you, oh, here it is, right here. These are my seeds. I have to go through these. Yeah, Gorilla Glue seeds. In here, I got my seeds. You see that?
Maybe we'll have to do it if you send me some seeds and we can take some shots in California and I'll grow them in my garden.
I don't know if I could send seeds through the mails, though. What do you think?
I don't know.
We should find out, because I have over 200 seeds I cleaned last year.
But I tell you, probably if we can't, we'll be busted.
I already gave, I already have committed about 20 of these to my friends that want to try growing this year. But this is my crop.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can understand New Jersey in a way, because I remember, back when it was illegal, whether when I was a kid or many years afterwards, is that you get someone, dealing pot, not even dealing, smoking, if they were minority,
right,
or they were poor, they didn't have the money for a defense attorney.
They went to jail.
They went to jail, where you have, I'm just saying, a wealthier kid or a white kid, they were, let go.
They were able to get lawyers. I'll tell you a great pot story, which to this day, I was blessed. So when I was 15, I bought myself a water pipe, a hookah, and it was a green bottle, about that big, and it had two little hoses out of it. It had a ceramic top. I bought a little filter for it, and I used to smoke pot out of it because I like to have clean pot. It would get rid of some of the harshness of it.
Well, wasn't
And
that more to smoke hash?
no, not really. We smoked whatever you wanted to purify.
Mhm.
A lot of people put wine in there because they like the wine vapors that came out of it. So in 1969, all of my fraternity, we would all bring our water pipes to our fraternity house. One day, my friend Richie, after we had smoked, said, "Let's go to Chinatown." I said, "Oh, what a great idea." So 5 of us got into his, oh, I wasn't there. 5 of them got into his Volkswagen
Well, I was
Beetle,
gonna say Volkswagen.
and I had loaned them my water pipe. I was going out with a girlfriend at that night. They go to Chinatown, and this guy, Fat Frank, had like a 1/4 ounce of pot. He put into Richie's glove compartment, but the idiots left my water pipe on the back seat of the Beetle, and they
Visible.
park on Sackett Street, which, oh no, not Sackett Street. I'm trying to think of the name. They park right near this restaurant we used to go to, Lynn's Gardens in Chinatown. They go into the restaurant, have a great meal, and they're all not stoned at this point. You know, they had smoked early in the evening.
Yeah.
It wears off after a couple hours. They go to the car. All 5 get into the car, and all of a sudden, 20 police surround the car. Oh, it was Elizabeth Street. 20 police surround the car. They parked on the block of the police station, these idiots.
Yeah, you're around City Hall, Elizabeth
What-
Street.
Yes. What do? They all get out of the car. And because the pot was in the glove compartment, all 5 were arrested, spent the night in jail. They confiscated my water pipe, which I never got back. I'm so pissed off at Lou and Epstein. And how the parents handled each one. My friend Dave Dubosky, David was a change of life baby. So in 1969, his parents were in their 50s. David was 19. His parents made him go to a psychiatrist for a year. And everyone else's parent, handled it, but they had to bail him out of jail.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a great story, but hate to tell you, kid, we're out of time.
Again?
Maybe we'll have to extend the show to 2 days.
This was fun.
It is. Anyway, welcome back.
Thank you. We'll
Don't
see you
go away
next
for
week.
so long, or if you go away, let's make arrangements where you could do remotes. All you need is a computer. But again, welcome back. It's good to have you back.
It's all about content. We have better content.
Okay, kid.
That's
See you
all.
next week.
See you next week. Thank you. Bye.